strangers. It has been quite a long time since I posted. I am so sorry. Summer got the best of me. But I'm back with a new tutorial and a new to me designer and a super fun bag that is going to build your skills. I'm talking about, this is the OMA bag or OMA, I'm not quite sure, but it's from Janie bags, and it's so cute. Isn't it like super unique? This is the one that we make in the video. This this vinyl glows in the dark. It's from My Little Shindig. At the end of the video, you will see it glowing. I'm gonna have a picture, don't you worry. I'm gonna show you the first bag. This is the first one that I made. Does anybody else, when you make a bag for the first time, the first one comes out better than the second? Just me? Okay, because this one came out like perfect. Like all the corners lined up beautifully. It turned out great. So in the pattern, as you can see, this handle is short and I lengthened it. I gave it an extra 2 inches, and it's like, I can get it on my shoulder. But if you have big arms like me, like big pits, it's short. It's a cute little elbow crook bag, you know? So for the one in the video, I tell you the new measurement. This one easily fits over. Beautiful. The other thing that I changed is these side connectors in the pattern. They are written for in the seam here, and it's a drop-in lining bag. So in order to save some bulk, I decided to try this way, and it worked out great. So I do give you the measurements for that as well in the video if you decide to go that route. Let's go over what this bag entails, shall we? As you can see, it does have some purse feet that you can add, optional of course, and it has these cool connectors on the strap. Again, you don't need to use it. I give you other options in the video. And then you have this flap that closes with a flip lock, and then a recessed zipper, and it's a long recessed zipper. It's like the whole panel. And then inside you have a cool little zipper pocket, heartwood and hide, yeah. And then on the other side you have a divided slip pocket. And as I said, this is a drop-in lining, which is my favorite. It's my favorite. I love doing drop-in linings. But again, that's why I opted to do the connectors like so, because on my first one, when you do drop-in lining, I don't know if you can see here with the connectors up there, you see how it's got like a little bulge, because it's, you know, this connector is eating up space, right? So your lining has nowhere to go. So it still worked out beautifully. But I really like how that turned out. It's fun. And guys, this bag is not perfect. Like, look at I got a little pleat. That's okay. In the back, this side doesn't match up 100%, but we're human and it still looks awesome. As I said, this vinyl, it is vinyl, glow in the dark. From My Little Shindig. This is Butter from Weft and Warp, and this is some Stay metallic vinyl from Fabric Therapy. The inside is just black waterproof canvas from Fabric Wholesale Direct, and then the slip pocket is cotton woven from Thunderbird Handcrafted. I think it's called like Spooky Nugs or something. I don't know, you'll see it better in the video, but I love that print so much. And then of course, Heartwood and Hide tag, and my logo Heartwood and Hide tag back there that also glows in the dark. Yeah, all about that glow light. Of my hardware is from Kasaya Swag, of course, because I love Kasaya. And my thread is also from Kasaya. It is Tech 70. It's called Let's Ghoul. And you can tell it's like a variegated Halloween thread. It's beautiful. I love it so much. This is like a 1 1/4 bobbin bag, and I would rate it like adventurous beginner. You need to have some knowledge of sewing to do this, especially like putting this together is not hard. It's just more maneuvering, knowing how to maneuver your bag under your machine to get those seams correct. And obviously I didn't maneuver it correctly enough right there. I did on this one though. So a big thank you to Janie Bags for allowing me to film this tutorial. I had a blast with this pattern. It is so much fun. It's totally unique to every other bag that I've made, and I love that. And everyone should definitely go grab the pattern, show some love to our friend, and great pattern. Can't wait to try your other ones. If you like this video, find it helpful, you like my content, give this video a thumbs up. And also, if you'd be so kind, please hit that subscribe button. It costs you nothing and helps my channel a ton. If you make this bag, go ahead and leave me down in the comments how excited you are to make it, or what materials you plan on using. And if you plan on using the modifications that I show here. I'm rambling. Go find some fabric, cut it out. I'll show you the prep steps, and then you can meet me at the machine. Let's get started with some prep steps. After you've cut out all your pattern pieces with your fabrics, go ahead and on the back of each one, mark a 1/2 inch on all the sides. That'll just give you a placement of where to put your interfacing at. And for these, this is vinyl material, and I added a layer of Decaville Light and also a layer of foam. I did that on my last one. I really like how it turned out. And then on your front main panels, also mark a line at the indicated measurement in the patterns. Since this is a drop-in lining, we are going to need that line. That was the main panel, the 2 main panel pieces. These are the side pieces. You're also going to need to interface and also draw a line on the wrong sides of both of them, again for that drop-in, and find your center points on the top and bottom of all of these pieces. You're also going to need a line at the top of our main lining top pieces, which are out of our exterior fabric. I just added a layer of Decaville Light onto these. I kept the foam out of it because folding it over, it can get kind of difficult there. And then for our base piece, we have a cut of interfacing. I used Peltex, and then also a cut of Decaville Light that goes over the Peltex. And as you can see, I did draw 1/2 inch all the way around, and all of the stabilizer is out of all the seams. Keeping up with our prep, let's grab our handle connectors. In the pattern sheet tells you to cut 4 of these. I cut 2 out of the actual shape, and then I overcut for the back side. The first one that I did, I skipped doing the back side. I just kept it like 1. Since it's vinyl, it's not going to fray or anything. I added some Decaville Light to the back of it. However, as you can see, this is the one that I made before. When you attach it, you can kind of see in there, and you can kind of see that Decaville Light. And I don't like that. So I'm going to go with, in the pattern, doing it exactly how she has it. So like I said, I did add some Decaville Light just right down the center to give it a little more stability. And I added some double stick tape. So I'm going to peel this off and then just stick it down onto one of those overcut pieces. And now I'm just going to take these to the machine and stitch 1/8 of an inch away all the way around. I am going to keep my threads long and pull them to the back. Once we have those both sewn, we're going to just trim off the excess like so. And then since I am using vinyl, I did take a lighter and just hit the edges to kind of pull in any strays. And I'm going to go one more step, and I'm going to edge coat these pieces. You totally don't need to. I'm just extra. Thought it would look nice. Alternatively, you can completely forego these connectors entirely and just use a strap end on the end of your strap when we attach to the rectangle ring, or just leave it bare. These are completely decorative. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this one out, start edge coating. If you decide to edge coat, just edge coat the different coats in between as we're sewing, making sure that you wait ample time in between each layer. And then once we have that done, we can put those to the side and continue on. Moving on to our handle. I am doing obviously a two-toned handle. If you want it to be all one in the measurement on the cut chart, just cut it to 4 inches instead, and then construct it as you would a normal strap, you know, marking the center line, folding it in, and then folding it again. But for mine, I'm doing two-tone. And I also lengthen these. I cut these to 23 inches, also because I'm doing the connectors a little differently. So I wanted to accommodate where that's going to sit. On the back of these, I do have a strip of Decaville Light. It doesn't go all the way. It's got like a 3-inch gap on either end. And I did apply some double stick tape to the edges since I am out of my 1/2 inch wide double stick tape. I need it. But we're going to take the raw edges and fold them over our stabilizer or to that middle line for both of them. So you're going to do each line folding over on both of these. Once we have them folded, I'm just going to take my beautiful new seam roller. Look at this. From Wonderground. I got it in Vegas, no big deal. I'm just going to seam roll these really quick to make sure that that tape sticks nice. Okay, and now I'm going to apply some more double stick tape to either of the panels. Again, I don't have my 1/2 inch wide. That would make it easier. But I'm going to put it outside of where I'm going to be stitching, so a little bit farther in from that folded edge, just on one of the panels. Okay, now I can remove the backing on both of these. And then I'm just going to take the other panel, line it up on the ends and all down the sides. If you see on that end, don't worry if there's some hang off, we can trim that later. It's not a big deal. But now we're going to go to the machine, and whichever side you want to be like your right side, stitch on that side and just sew down both along sides at your top stitch length. Mine is preferred at a 5. So I'm going to start at the top, back stitch, go to the end, back stitch, and then do the other side. All right, both sides are beautifully top stitch. I love that thread. But on both ends, if you have any indiscrepancies, just even them up. They're going to get hidden by those connectors that I'm edge painting. Or like I said, you can just add a strap end or just leave them alone, whichever you prefer. It's your bag. And then I do hit it on the ends with a lighter. And our handle is done. We can put that aside. Grab your 2 side panels and then our 2 rectangle ring connectors and our 2 rectangle rings. I am doing mine different. In the pattern, she has you cut the rectangle rings. They're the same width, but they're a different length. They're shorter. So construct those the same, and then you would put those centered onto your side panels. The way that I'm doing it, I haven't done it this way. Hopefully my math is mathin'. So working with these connector pieces and our rectangle rings, I cut mine to 8 1/4 inches long by 2. And these will extend from the bottom up and hopefully be out of the way when we top stitch. Let's see, shall we? And then also on the back of these connector pieces, I added some Decaville Light, like a 4" by 7/8 of an inch strip just on one side. So just like with our strap, I'm going to add some double stick tape to all of the long edges and then remove the backing of the tape and fold them over that Decaville Light to the center line. All right, now that we have them folded, I'm going to take it to the machine and I'm going to sew at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance on all the long sides. 3/8, not an eighth, not yet. Now, whichever side your Decaville Light is on, if you lost it, if you kind of go like that, you can kind of see I got the Decaville Light there. Over here, I can see my line and the fuzzy backing. So whichever side your Decaville Light is on, mark a line that is 3 inches down on the wrong side. Do this on both of them. And now I'm going to take a little bit of double stick tape and just put it on the end here. And then I'm going to slip my D-ring on. If you have a split in your D-ring, make sure that split is going to be folded over so you won't see it. And I'm going to remove this double stick tape, the backing, and fold it over to that line. So now we should have a 1.5 inch fold, like so. Go ahead and do that to the other one. When you have those folded over that 1.5 inches, take some more double stick tape. Whole bag is constructed with just double stick tape. Don't look. And I'm going to run it right down the center of these connectors. I'm not going all the way up to the hardware. I'm leaving about half, 3/4 of an inch. Okay, once that's applied, grab one of your side panels. Make sure your bottom and your top is marked, especially your bottom, and that you have that 1 inch line drawn. Okay, so from the bottom here, with that center mark, remove the backing on one of the connectors and center that connector. You should be able to see from the inside where the center is. And try to keep it as straight as possible. Once you have that down, let's do the same for the other one. Once those are down with the tape, take your ruler and mark 1/2 of an inch from your D-ring down. Make sure you're using a removable pen. I'm using this vinyl marking pen from Mormino. We're going to mark that 1/2 of an inch on both of them. And I'm going from the actual D-ring to there and not the fold. Okay, that's going to be our stitch line. And now we're going to go to the machine and starting at the bottom, back stitch 1/8 of an inch away, pivot at that line that we just drew, and go back down 1/8 of an inch. Again, I'm using a 5 stitch length and I am back stitching at the bottoms here. 1/4 inch up from that sewing line, I'm going to make a mark for a rivet on both of them. And then punch a hole at that mark, making sure you don't punch through your stitches. And then add a rivet. And we are going through foam here, so make sure that your rivet post is long enough. If you can't get that back on, you need a longer rivet. Make sure to remove any markings, like that line that we had drawn. Make sure those are gone. We can set the rivets. And if you decided to edge coat those handle connectors, go ahead and check those now for a second coat. Grab your base panel with the interfacing already on it and find the center points on all the sides. And take your pattern piece for the interfacing, match it up along the bottom or along the whole interfacing piece, and just mark out the purse feet placements. Okay. Now I'm going to punch the holes, but I'm not going to install the purse feet yet. Take one of your exterior pieces and make sure that the bottom at least has a center mark. You know the bottom because it should have this line drawn on the top. So we're going to lay it face down, okay, with the bottom aligning to one of the longer sections of this hexagon, and just clip together. After that seam is sewn, we are going to push the bottom away. We're going to top stitch on the base panel at 1/8 of an inch away. So go back to your top stitch length, 1/8 of an inch away on the base panel, back stitch at the beginning and the end. That's all top stitched beautifully on the base panel. Now working with the opposite end, take your other main lining piece and do the exact same thing. Bottom edge, right sides together, lined up with the center of that other side, stitch across at 1/2 of an inch, push it open, and top stitch on the base panel. Both main panels are attached and top stitched. Now is the time that I like to add my tag. If you're going to use a sew-in tag, I like to do it now. Otherwise, the piece gets pretty big, so it's a little hard to maneuver. I'm going to put it centered on one of my panels, on one of my main panels. And I'm going to place it about 3/4 of an inch up. Dang, that was perfect. Okay. And I'm putting mine on the back panel, so just keep that in mind. But I am going 3/4 of an inch up. If you put it on the front panel, I would do the same because you're going to have that flap that folds over. So, unless you don't want your bag tag seen. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch that down. Okay, now we're going to be attaching our side panels. We're going to do that in the exact same way that we attach these main panels. So take one of them, flip it right sides together with the base, match up the center marks, clip across, and then we're going to sew at 1/2 of an inch seam allowance, flip it over, and we're going to top stitch on the base, just like we did on these. Do that for both of your side panels. All right, we have all 4 pieces. This is what I'm talking about. It gets kind of big. Like, there's no way I can even get this in frame. But now is the point where I'm going to go ahead and put my purse feet in. So if you're doing purse feet, go ahead and install that now. If you're using the prong backed purse feet, make sure to cover that up with some duct tape or double stick tape or something to protect it so it doesn't rub through the lining. Purse feet, check. Okay, we are going to put this to the side for just a second and grab our flap pieces. Both flap pieces are here, exterior and lining. I'm using both the same. You can do whatever you'd like. And I also did add some Decibel Light to the back of mine, 1/2 inch in from all the sides. On both pieces on the wrong side, mark a line 1/2 inch down from that top piece. Those lines are marked. Grab some double stick tape. I would use 1/8 inch wide double stick tape. However, I'm all out of that too. Don't worry, it's coming. And put it right along that line on both of the flat pieces. Now take the backing off of the tape and fold that raw edge to that line. So we're going to have a 1/4 inch fold. Just fold it down to that line on both the pieces. Once that top edge is folded down, we're going to be stitching these together. If you need, mark out your seam allowances. Okay, or at least on like this one, I marked like the points so I know where to pivot. Okay, and we are going to take our panels and lay them right sides together, matching up the tops, matching up all the sides. Clip it all the way around. Okay, it's all clipped. As you can see, I mean, when you cut these out, we're human. Like it might not match up in certain spots. That's okay. I'm just gonna follow my line. Okay, I'm not gonna follow the outside of the fabric. I'm just gonna follow my line. So we're going to backstitch at the beginning and at the end, 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around, and I'm gonna do a second row of stitching just right to the right of the first line. Also, I'm going to mention real quick, when I start at this flap, I'm going to start on that fold over part, but I'm not going to start past it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to start like back here and then so on. When I back stitch, I'm not going to go off it because you will see those stitches on that flap in the end. Okay, just keep that in mind. Stop like 1/8 of an inch away on both sides. See what I was talking about, where I started and stopped? It still caught that fold over on both sides, but it's 1/8 of an inch away. Okay, so now we're going to trim down our seam allowances to 1/4 of an inch. And at the corners, I like to kind of scoop it out almost so that the corners can really pop out, but don't cut your stitching. Once it's all trimmed, we are going to flip this out. Depending on your material, it may be a little difficult. You may need a hair dryer. Whatever you need, go ahead and flip it out and push out those corners with some kind of turning tool. I like to use my little wand here. Now that it's all flipped out, pressed nicely, we are going to top stitch. However, I am also going to add a piece of Peltex in there. Looks like I'm going to need to trim mine down, but I'm just going to slip this inside and then I'm going to top stitch. I'm just going to go 1/8 of an inch away, again, back stitch at the beginning and the end, but start like, again, 1/8 of an inch away from that edge and end 1/8 of an inch away. One more thing, do not top stitch that top flap. Don't do it. Don't do it yet. Okay, just around the perimeter, minus that. And my Peltex is inside. That's totally optional. Don't have to do it. What can I say? I like a stiff flap. Say that 10 times fast. All top stitch except for where? The top. Don't top stitch the top. Now you're going to find the midpoint on that flap on the right side. So whichever side you want facing up to be seen, I mean, make a little mark on the flap right there. Okay. And now on the back side, which will be the underside of the flap, we are going to put some double stick tape. Put that to the side for a second and grab our big piece again. On our back main panel piece. So for me, that's the one with my name tag on it. We are going to mark, I have no room. We are going to mark 1 3/4 of an inch down and centered. Okay, so I'm not going to go across the whole panel here, but I am going to mark my center mark and that line. Grabbing your flap, remove the backing of that tape, and taking the flap with the right side facing up, we're going to put it down on that flap, on that line, centered. So match up, I really need a bigger spot. Match up our center marks and that line. Go ahead and wipe off your marks. If you can see them, you can always go back afterwards and just kind of rub them out. That's what she said. Along this seam here, I'm going to start sewing right where I left off with the top stitching. That's why we ended 1/8 of an inch away. I'm going to go 1/8 of an inch across the top of that flap. And I'm going to leave my tails long and I'm going to tie them off onto the back portion of our main panel. So see, I got the 1/8 of an inch top stitch there. And then I'm going to measure, I'm going to position my ruler so that the 3/8 inch mark is right on top of those stitches. And now I'm going to mark my second line. I'm going to go ahead and stitch across that, again keeping my tails long and tying them to the back. Go ahead and wipe off any of your markings that you can still see. And now I'm just going to, this isn't in the pattern, but I'm going to add some dots for some rivets on the flap. Flap is attached. Yay! Okay, now we need to construct the outside here. All right, so I'm gonna have the flap facing towards me down this way, and I'm gonna take my side panel, I'm gonna flip it up. Now this edge, you can see here, should meet up pretty nicely with that side. Okay, I'm gonna add some clips. And now, sorry, told you I need more room. I'm going to sew on that line and I'm going to stop where that intersection is. So that's 1/2 of an inch away from that side panel. Start here, back stitch, sew on that line, and back stitch at the end. I'm actually going to do 2 lines since I'm using a vinyl and it's a little thicker. Here's what that seam should look like, and my 2 lines of stitching stopped 1/2 of an inch away. Okay, now flip this so you can see the back part of your main. And right above that stitch line, we're going to snip into it, just on the main panel. Okay, right above, like so. We need that free. Okay. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do the other corner. So I'm going to flip the other side panel down. And again, clip, clip, and again. I'm going to start stitching here at that intersection point, so a 1/2 inch away from the side of the side panel, back stitch, go across, back stitch, do another row of stitching, again, stopping halfway. Again, there's my 2 lines of stitching, stopping a 1/2 inch away on that side panel, flip it over to the back so you can see the back main panel, and right above that seam, snip in so that it's free. Okay, we're going to keep repeating that for the other 2 sections. So this one like that, and this one like that. They're already in place. So do the exact same thing that we did on these, remembering to snip into that back panel. Once all of these corners are sewn and the snips made, now we need to put it all together. So taking a side panel, I know it's kind of hard for me to maneuver right here, side panel, and I'm using the back panel first with the flap attached. I'm going to bring it around town, and I'm going to match up the top corners first. Okay, and I'm going to clip all the way down, and that's where that, hopefully you guys can see this, that's where that snip into the exterior panel is going to come into play. It's going to allow that side panel to go where it needs to go. Okay, squishing your bag. Okay, squish it, squish it. You're gonna start where you stopped on the corner piece and come all the way up to the top. Be mindful of your flap. You don't want your flap getting in the way. Okay, so back stitch at the beginning and the end, go all the way up, go slow, because things are going to want to shift on you when working with this flap side especially. Okay, so that seam, I did 2 rows again, and still working with this back flap piece, and then the other side panel, do the same thing. Match up the tops. And I say to match up the tops because we have that line drawn where we're going to fold it over to do our drop in. So we want that to be matched up. So clip all the way down that side as well. Okay, this is getting harder and harder to get in the shot. But here is that side clipped together. Again, I'm going to squish everything, okay, like so. And again, stitch down 1/2 inch, stopping where our last stitches in the corner were. And I'll do a second row. Again, make sure your flap stays out the party. Okay, once you have that seam sewn, just make sure that your flap is free. And then I do like to kind of hold this up to the light to see if there are any holes in the corners, because it's kind of hard to see right now. So just hold it up to the light. If you see any light coming through, you know you didn't go down far enough. It'll be like down here. Once you do that, do the same thing with the remaining open ends. Match up the tops, clip down, sew both sides. This side should be a little easier because we don't have that flap to deal with. A storm is rolling in, so I apologize for how dark it is. Here is all the sides sewn up. Now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to trim all of our seam allowances down to 1/4 inch. Start below that line. So don't trim that line. Don't trim above it, okay? Just go around and get rid of that excess bulk from all the seams. Once everything is trimmed up, then we need to turn it right side out. If you're anything like me, you might need a hair dryer, depending on your material. Flipped it in, or right side out. You can see I got a little pleat there. win some, you lose some, right? But now we need to install the female portion of our turn lock. Okay, so in the pattern, you can either grab the pattern piece for the flap, or I like to just find the center of this flap here, find the center, and fold it in half, make a little mark, and then measure 1.5 inches up from the edge of the flap. Make a little dot. Now take the back portion of your female part and kind of center up that where the hole is to the dot, and trace around it, and also trace the screw holes. Okay, so we need to get rid of that portion. We need to make that open and even a little bit bigger so that we can fit that in. So I have this whole set of dies that I got off of Amazon. I'm just finding one that is slightly bigger than my shape. I don't know if you can see down in there. Probably not. But it's slightly bigger. Just use a hammer, punch it out, and then I'll make sure that the screw holes are open as well. Okay, so punch that out. I checked it against this. I can get the screw holes in there. So now what I like to do is I like to put a little bit of glue, not too much because we don't want to like squeeze it out, on the back of the female portion, and then just guide it in there. And again, make sure that the screw holes are open, and then fit the back portion on. Take your screw, all right, if you're having issues with that, it most likely means that your screw holes are not accessible. So if that's the case, just go and shave down a little bit more. Okay, so that is in place. Now we just need to install the male portion of our turn lock. So to do that, we're going to work with the top edge of our front main panel and mark a dot that is 4 inches down from the main panel. Make a mark. And then take your washer, but I'm going to mark up that dot as best as I can in the middle, and at least I know like where I'm going. Very carefully take either a seam ripper or one of these nightmare fuel things, and very carefully mark the slits of the prongs. And again, I like to take some glue and I just put it over where the slit marks are and kind of underneath where it will be, and slip in the prongs like so. And since it's already interfaced, we don't need to worry about putting interfacing on. And fold the prongs to your preferred state. Wow, this one's hard. BRB while I go break my fingers pushing these prongs down. Okay, holy moly. I usually like to push my prongs out because it makes it flatter. This one wanted to go in, so it did. This was a really strong one. I will be dead 150 years and this thing will still be in place because that sucker ain't going anywhere. Okay, and I did add some duct tape to the back of that. And now you can test it if you would like. Even with the pleat, this is cute. I like it. Okay. Now the only thing that we have to do on the exterior before we start working on the lining is that line that we drew across all of the top pieces. We are going to put some double stick tape right up against that line. When you get to the sides, to any of these seams, butterfly them open and put the tape over that. Go around the whole thing, and then we're going to fold it down. I put my double stick tape actually up at the top. As long as it's above that line, you're fine. I just didn't want to fight the foam. So now start removing the back of the double stick tape. And if you're using foam, like me, you might need to fight it, but we're going to take the raw edge and bring it down to meet that line. So even though I have tape on here, I am going to clip as well. When you get to these corners, I'm so sorry about the angle. I don't know how else to do this. Should know I'm not a professional, guys. When we get to these corners, make sure they're butterflied open and as flat as you can get them to meet up with that line. Okay, so go around the whole top of the bag, folding down that seam and clipping, and then we can set this aside. Okay, whole top is clipped down, folded edge over. Now we can put this sucker to the side and we can work on our lining, which is easy peasy. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and get our zipper panel done now before we start constructing the lining. If you saw my Annabelle shoulder bag video, I'm going to do the zipper panel the exact same way I did in there. In the pattern, it's written differently, but we're going to get the same results. So either follow the pattern or follow this. I have 2 cuts of my zipper panel, both of the exterior cut to 23.5 inches. And on the back sides, I have a piece of Decaville light just on one side. That will be the part that's facing up. So the first thing that we need to do is mark lines that are 3/4 of an inch on all of the short sides. And then we're going to apply some double stick tape right by that line. And then go ahead and remove the backing and fold the raw edges to that line. So go ahead and fold all the short edges into that 3/4 of an inch line. When you have all of those short edges folded to that line, make sure that your centers are marked on what you want to be the innermost portion of that zipper panel. So like if you have a directional print, maybe you want them to match up. Whichever side that your zipper is going to be laying in between, make sure that that center piece is marked. And then put these to the side just for a second and grab our zipper. From one of the short sides, mark 1/2 inch down. Again, all these little notes that I'm telling you right now, this is how I'm doing it. It is differently written in the pattern. I like to stick my zipper pull on We are going to be separating this. This is just so that I can stay oriented, that I put my pull on. It will come off again. Okay, now that my pull is on, where we made those 1/2 inch marks, separate your zipper tape just a little bit on the end where the marks are. Pinch at the marks. Your zipper tape's naturally going to want to fold. Let it do so. And then I take a lighter, burn it, stick it. Burn and stick. And then do the same for the other side. Pinch. Let it fold the way it wants to. And then burn. Now that we have that squared off, we can pull our panels back. Okay? I'm going to orient them the way that I want them. So my midpoints in the middle here and my pieces with the deck of a light are both on my right hand side. That will become the top. Now working with one, I'm going to run a strip of double stick tape. Run the double stick tape all the way down the whole length of your zipper panel. And I'm going to go ahead and do the other one as well. Wherever that notch is, the center notch, that's where the zipper is going to be applied. Again, if you're following the pattern, you ain't doing this. You're following what's in the instructions. Now, I'm going to remove the tape on my topmost panel because I'm going to want my zipper. For me, I like my zipper closing to the left, so I want my zipper to be like that, which means I have to place it face down along this side. I'm going to throw a clip on the end and open my zipper, and then wherever that midpoint mark is, I'm going to go about 1/8 of an inch away from that and line my teeth up with it, and then press my zipper tape along the edge, right side down, all the way down. Once it's stuck, take the free end of your zipper panel, bring it over, and make sure that the edges are matched up down here, the folded edges, and then just stick it down onto the back side of your zipper. We're going to sew down this side at 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to stop, or I'm going to back stitch up at the top, go all the way down, and then back stitch at the end. I'm going to stop 1/8 of an inch from that folded edge. If you go past that, you will see your stitches. And I am going to switch out to a zipper foot to get that 3/8 of an inch. 3/8 of an inch achieved. Now I'm going to just pull up the exterior from the zipper tape. And I'm just going to trim down the end here to get rid of some bulk. And then do the same to the other side. Make sure when you're trimming this, you don't accidentally cut your zipper tape. That would be sad. And then also I'm going to do that up here where it folds over on itself. Pull it apart. And then trim down the exterior. Okay, now we just need to flip this right side out. So just gently push it. And then in that corner there, take a turning tool and see how it gets nice and pointy. Beautiful. And then we're just going to push these wrong sides together. So I like to just get all the raw edges lined up and make sure that those folded edges are nice and neat and together. Then I'm going to clip down this whole side with the raw edge. Okay, we have the whole side turned out. We are going to top stitch, but I'm going to save it until I do this other side first, since I have my zipper foot on. My zipper foot does not like to top stitch nicely. I don't know. So grab the other piece of our zipper panel. Again, making sure that our Decaville light side is on the right. And now I zip this back up so I can get oriented correctly. And this has to go like this. Right side down. Open my tape. 1/8 of an inch away from that center mark. Press. And then bring that other free end over, match up the folded end, and press it all together. And just like the other side, I'm going to start now at the folded edge about 1/8 of an inch away, backstitch, stitch down this whole length, backstitch again here, trim away at the folded edges and around here, and then push it out. Alrighty, both sides are in place, flipped out. Now we just need to top stitch. So on both the panels, I'm going to start on one of the raw edges, because these will be hidden in the seam, and backstitch, and then go all the way around at 1/8 of an inch, all the way back around and backstitch, and do the same for both of them. You can see where I started and stopped. Backstitch, so you won't be able to see that. Now we just need to fold it in half to find the midpoints on both of the raw edge sides. And now we can take off our zipper pull again, separate these two, and we can put them aside until we are ready for them. Okay, we're going to work with our lining piece now. Grab one of your lining pieces, and then we're going to do the zipper pocket side. So you're going to need your 2 zipper pocket lining pieces. You're going to need your overlay, a cut of zipper tape. Mine is longer than my zipper lining pieces, 1 zipper pull, and then I'm also going to add a little heartwood and hide tag onto this panel. So let's just start working with our zipper overlay. Take your overlay, and on the back, add some double stick tape. Again, if you have 1/8 inch, that is the way to go. I added the double stick tape to all 4 sides of that zipper overlay. Now kind of crease. I like to just crease my overlay to find the center. If you need, you can mark a midpoint. And then also find the center of your main lining piece. Remove the backing from all the tape and measure 1 inch down from the top of your lining piece and match up that center point of your overlay. Well, that's not 1 inch, Jen. There we go. Sheesh. Just let it fall naturally. Don't pull this down. You don't want it wider. If you're going to stick a woven tag, you could stick it underneath here before we stitch it. But right now, we are going to stitch around the very outside of the zipper box. I am going to keep my tails long and then pull them towards the back. All right, we got that all top stitch on around the very outer edge. Now take a seam ripper or something sharp and kind of start a hole in the middle there. And then I like to flip this over to the back. And we need to cut out that circle. So I just go up where my double-sided tape is and very carefully cut around, making sure not to cut our overlay. We got that all open. This does not have to be perfect, doesn't have to be pretty, but that's what it looks like from the front side. And now I'm going to take this cute little tag and I'm going to sew it down right about there underneath. And I do this before I put the pocket in so I don't have to worry about sewing through the pocket. Look at how cute that tag is. I love it. Okay, we're going to put this to the side for a second and then grab our zipper, our lining pieces, and keep your pole close by. So take one of your lining pieces and put your zipper right side up onto the right side of one of your lining pieces. And clip or tape. So I'm going to clip it all the way down this whole length. And now I'm going to sew down that side at 1/4 inch. Just so, and I am going to backstitch at the beginning and the end. Now we're going to flip our lining piece and push our zipper right side up. You can take this to the iron and press it nice and flat, but what I like to do is about 1/8 inch away from the zipper tape, I'm going to throw another line of stitches down. Now, if you do go this route, just know that you're going to be able to see these stitches on the right side inside your pocket. Okay. Nobody's going to see it. Nobody's going to see it. No one's going to look. Okay, so I'm going to throw another line of stitching about 1/8 inch away from the edge of the zipper tape to hold it flat. All right. See how 2 lines of stitching, it makes it nice and flat, and then you can see it on that side. And BD, no big deal. Okay, now take your other lining piece and lay it right side up, and then take this piece with your zipper right side up and lay it on top of the other one, making sure that both of the lining panels are even on the side. And then just clip down that other free end of the zipper. And then we can sew down that side at 1/4 inch, backstitch at the beginning and the end. And then again, flip it, flip your lining piece away, press your zipper tape flat, and then either take it to the iron and really get it nice and flat, or add another row of stitches 1/8 inch away. See, having that other row of stitches in there, it makes it super nice and flat, which is going to make it way easier to install. Now take some double stick tape, lay it right up against the edge of your zipper tape, only between where the lining panels are, all the way up to the edge so we don't see it. And then add your zipper pull. Okay, now remove the tape, backing, don't take the tape off, you just put it down. And then grab our lining piece and looking at the zipper box and your zipper, try and center it as best as you can. Mine are never perfect. I just try to have close to the same amount free on this side and the other side. once you're happy with where it's at, I think that looks pretty good, we're going to stitch along this inner box now at 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to keep tails long and pull them to the back. Almost there. Once we have that inner box top stitch, flip the panel over and bring your top lining piece, pull it down so that the sides match up with the bottom lining piece, and click. Do the same on this side. We have this extra overhang. We can just go ahead and cut that off. And then we can clip along the bottom as well. Since this is a drop-in lining, we don't need to leave a turning hole. I love drop-in linings for that reason. Flipping this panel back to the right side, move your panel out of the way. We need to close this now. I'm going to start sewing as close to the zipper box as I can up top, and then I'm going to taper it out to this corner and then sew at a 3/8 of an inch on the bottom. You could do a 1/2 inch, it really doesn't matter. I just like to go at that angle so you get as much room in the pocket as you can possibly get, but you really don't need that room up here. That just adds extra bulk. So I'm going to start up here, back stitch, taper, pull this out of the way, sew, and then taper back in and back stitch over here. All right, that's what it looks like from the back. Now that we have that sewn, we can trim away all the excess, and when we cut the zipper tape, make sure to grab a lighter and just burn the edge of that zipper tape. Let's work with our slip pocket next. So I have my slip pocket piece, my trim piece, and if you're wanting to add a little tag, let's move the trim and the tag away for a second. Take your pocket lining and fold it in half, hot dog wise. And clip along the short sides. Now we're going to stitch along the short sides at 1/4 of an inch back stitch at the beginning and the end. After those sides are sewn, just trim down the corners at the bottom. So you have your raw edge up here, just at the bottom. Just so when we turn this out, it'll be nicer. Now go ahead and flip it. And then again, take a turning tool and just pop out those corners as much as you can. Okay, I'm going to take this to my iron and iron this real nice and flat, making sure that these side seams are pushed out nice. I also added a basting stitch just at the top just to keep it all nice and together, but it's all pressed. And now we can grab our trim and our tag. On the back of the trim, if you're using vinyl like me, which you should use a non-frame material for this, go ahead and just burn the edges to get all those little fuzzies in, and then add some double stick tape right over that midpoint line. So you should have the midpoint line drawn. Okay, remove the backing, and then lay your pocket on top of the wrong side of your trim and match up the top of that pocket to that line. And now find a place where you'd like your tag, and then take your trim and fold it over the top of that pocket. And you can see my trim is longer than my pocket. That's okay. Now we need to sew down or top stitch down this long edge of the trim at 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to go with a 5 stitch length, and I am going to back stitch at the beginning and the end. Once you have that stitch, just check the back and make sure that you did catch it. Mine slipped. So instead of going back and trying to redo that, I just added a line of stitches at the top. Totally fine. Now, if you have excess trim, go ahead and trim that off. And if you plan on dividing this pocket in half, go ahead and fold your pocket, mark the center, and then use some kind of chalk pen to mark that line. Since I did miss it over here, sorry, I'm gonna make my line right about there. Regardless if you're dividing it in half or not, we are gonna need to find the center point. So fold it in half, and I'm just going to crease it to find that center, and add some 1/8 inch wide double stick tape to the 3 sides, not the top. Since I am out, I'm going to use some Beacon 3-in-1 glue. So I'm going to add some glue to the 3 sides right along the edge. Now grab your other lining piece, and again measure 1 inch down from the top and centered, and then center up your pocket and push it down. And once we have it in place, then we're going to sew down the 3 sides and up that seam. You can either backstitch at the beginning and the end, or you can leave your tails long, pull them through, and then come back and do the line, your separation line. And then I'm probably going to add a rivet right on top here and maybe in the corners, just to add some reinforcement. Alrighty, here is the pocket sewn on. Did that dividing line, and then I added some little baby rivets. Whenever you add rivets on the lining, always make sure to back it with some kind of stabilizer so that those rivets don't pull out when these get in use. Okay, let's put the lining together. Pull back this lining piece with our zipper. I want this as my back panel. So I'm going to start with that, and then we also need one of our top lining pieces, and then we're going to need our zipper panels again. Okay, so one of them is going to go with this one, the other one's going to go with the other one. I'm going to use this one because I want my zipper, when closed, to be on the left. So whichever side has that little angled piece, that's like where the zipper will close to. Okay, so I want my zipper to be on this side, so I'm going to use this one for this back panel. So first, take our zipper panel and match up the center points with our lining panels, and either use tape or clip paste across that edge at 1/8 of an inch. Once that's pasted on, grab your top lining and again match up the centers on that long edge of the lining, the top lining. Flip it all the way down or tape. And just remember, if you have a directional print for this top lining piece, we're attaching it to the bottom of that top lining. Okay, so now we're going to stitch across this long edge at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, back stitch at the beginning and the end. Okay, once that's sewn, it doesn't say this in the pattern, it doesn't say to top stitch, but I am going to push my top lining panel away and make sure that that seam is pressed behind that top lining panel. And then I'm going to top stitch on the top lining panel 1/8 of an inch away from the zipper panel. This will make our zipper be like a depressed zipper, not depressed like sad, but you know, it'll point downward. If you push through the seam this way, your zipper panel will stick up, which is fine. Totally up to you. If you want to top stitch on this lining panel, you totally could. I like it to be pushed in so you won't see it very much. So I'm going to go ahead and top stitch on that, and I will back stitch at the beginning and the end. Okay, top stitched on that top lining portion, and I also found the center on the top of that top lining. Now I just like to take the end of that zipper, clip it so that when we're putting these lining panels together, it's out of the way. And we can put this one to the side, and we need to repeat all those steps for this panel. I forgot to mention, when you're putting the zipper panel on, it should be right side up. Your zipper is right side, your lining panel is right side, so you can see the teeth. So go ahead, base the zipper panel on, and then take your lining top piece, put it right side down on top of your zipper, stitch at 1/4 inch, and remember, if you have directional print, you are attaching it to the bottom, right sides together. Okay, both our lining pieces are completely done. Just double check and make sure that your excess zipper tape that we clipped onto the zipper panels are on opposite sides. If they are going towards the same direction, it means that you put your zipper panel face down onto your lining panel, which is what we don't want. So if you see that, go and fix it now, because we are about to put these together. So take the two panels and lay them right sides together. And start with matching up that top lining seam. So even if the tops and bottoms don't perfectly match up, go ahead and match up the accent piece first. And then clip all the way down the sides. And same on the other side, match up the accent piece. We are also going to clip the bottoms of the lining since we don't need to leave any kind of holes. Once everything is clipped, we're going to go to the sewing machine, and starting at the top here, back stitch, sew down at 1/2 inch, back stitch at your corner, come over to the bottom corner, back stitch, 1/2 inch, back stitch, come over here, back stitch, 1/2 inch, back stitch. Before we box our corners, I want to trim down our seam allowance to 1/4 inch. So below that top line that we're going to fold down to is where I'm going to start cutting to trim. And I'm going to stop about 1 inch away from the corners. Same with the bottom. Now that it's trimmed, we can box our corners. So open up either one, and the further, sorry, I'm right on top of you guys. The further that you pull this down, the straighter it will become. And I know we have that slip pocket to worry about and everything else. Just fold it as best you can. And then when it comes to the seams, butterfly them open. That's why we left them long, and just match up where those seams are. And put a clip. And then I also put some clips down the sides of our triangle or trapezoid to keep it flat. Okay, now do the same to the other one. We're going to stitch down both of these at 1/2 inch seam allowance. Make sure that your seams stay butterflied open. It will reduce bulk. Now, after those are sewn, just trim those box corners down. And the last thing that we need to do is, just like we did for the top, we need to put a piece of double stick tape anywhere above that line that we drew. For this one, since I don't have the foam, I'm going to put it right on top of that line. And when I get to the corners, I'm going to butterfly them open and continue to tape around the whole top, just like so. And just like before, now that we have that tape down, we can pull up the backing and fold it over. If you have stabilizer on your top piece like me, we're just going right over that stabilizer down to that line. One last thing that I like to do with drop-in linings, once that is folded down, I do take another piece of double thick tape and I will put it well out of where I will be top stitching. I just do this so when we put the two pieces together, it's less likely to slip when we're sewing. Even if there are clips, it can slip. So if you're going to do this, just make sure, like I said, that it's out of the line of your stitches. Okay, so I'm going to go around the whole thing with more double stick tape. Okie dokie. Keeping our lining wrong side out, we are going to bring back our exterior, which is right side out. And we are going to put our lining inside our exterior. Just make sure if you have a side that you want on the back, I want my zipper panel on the back here, make sure that that's matched up with the back of the bag. They need to be friends, they need to be neighbors. Okay, so just go ahead and push this all the way in. And then, since I put that tape on the back of my lining piece, I'm going to remove the backing of that a little bit. And I'm going to find my center point from my exterior panel and my center point from my lining top and match them up. And clip. And then I'm just going to keep on going. I would go to the front next and match up those center points, but since I have that double stick tape there, I don't want it just, the panels just like flopping around. You might have to readjust as you go. Just match up those, the top edges. And the side seams on the side panels, I have a marking of center, and then I have my side seam. So I'm going to match those up and just continue matching up those edges and the center points and the side seams around the whole top. It is best to do this final top stitch from the exterior, from the right side of your bag. So if you have a domestic machine or a cylinder arm and you can take that bed off and kind of wrap your bag around that and go around it like this, that's the easiest way. If you want, you can flip your bag again so that the exterior is on the inside. Or for me, I'm going to literally go like this and just kind of squish my bag and sew like that around. Take your time and make sure when you get to this flap when you're stitching that you pull the flap down and out of the way. If you leave it up, you're gonna stitch through it. We don't want that. So go to your top stitch length. I'm gonna use a 5. I'm gonna leave my tails long and pull them through and just go slow. And every time you have to manipulate your bag or move it, make sure your needle is down. All right, use a hump jumper if you need. Go slow, and I'll see you on the other side. Not the easiest way to top stitch, but we got her done. Got her top stitched. Now we can release these the loose ends of the zipper, because we need to put our zipper on. Okay, and it should match up pretty nice. Now we just need to put our zipper cap on. And then I'm going to taper from the teeth, tiny bit. And then hit it with the lighter. And then I kind of push the edge of the zipper tape to the teeth on one side and then over again, just like a double fold. And then same on the other side. Push the zipper tape to the teeth and then over. And then take our cap, thread it on, and take our screw and screw it in. Give it a little tug. She's good. We can tuck the zipper in. And we can pull our flap down. Kind of shape our flap. Give it that memory. She's cute. All right, now we just got to put the handle on, and then we'll be done. Much like Mortal Kombat, let's finish him. Let's finish this bag. So grab our connector pieces, our handle connectors. I'm going to put some double stick tape on the wrong side. So the black is going to be my wrong side. And then go to your bag and feed one end through. I guess I should have taken off the bagging first, huh? Get it together one of these days. Now take our handle and we're gonna stick it right in the middle here, trying to make it as centered as possible, and then fold that connector up and try and match all of the edges. Okay, now if you're not using this, you could just feed the end of your strap in like so, and you could add a strap end here and then just rivet it like that. Or if you don't have a strap end, you just want to leave that as it is, burn the edges, and just rivet it like that. Okay, I'm going to take my rivet setting tool. This is from Carolina Little Stitches, because we need to rivet the connector onto the handle. I'm going to add 2 rivets. I'm going to try and center it as best as I can here. And just mark some placements. Okay. And same on the other one. And then we can punch our holes. And we can go ahead and set those rivets. All right, rivets are set. I think that looks so cool, especially with the green edge painting. No matter how you finish that handle, it's gonna be great. And I think that the strap length cut at the 23 inches is definitely more accommodating. And I really love how the rectangle ring connector worked out. And this fabric glows in the dark, so I kind of want to test that. So, did you love it? How did it turn out? Did you get those corners to match up? Did you not get a pleat like me? Did you try these connectors? Did you try the zipper panel? Sorry, my hair is all over the place. Did you try the zipper panel the way that I showed you how to do it? Or did you do the one in the pattern? Let me know. I love how this came out. My goodness, what is happening? I love how this came out. Even with the whoopsies, I think it turned out super cute. Stick around to see how it glows. I hope you had so much fun. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. I promise it won't be 3 months again. Okay, see you next time.